the first, I believe, health hour of September, How to Stay Positive. I'm Erin from the membership team, and I'm joined by Beck McPhee, accredited practicing dietitian and health coach. I will read out our acknowledgement of country and then mention a couple of other bits, and then I'll kind of hand over to Beck to get started. Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. We recognise their connection to land, waters, winds, and culture. We pay the utmost respect to them, their cultures, and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that may be here today. We recognise that Australia is made up of hundreds of different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, each with their own histories, culture, language, and belief systems. Their relationship with country remains of utmost importance, as it is the foundation for culture, family and kinships, songlines and languages. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples affected by diabetes and those at risk. As with all of our events as well, we have a short survey for feedback that I'll pop into the Q&A and the chat sections. And as always with these events, you're more likely to see one or both of the Q&A and chat areas if you're logged in via the browser. You can always log out and log back in if you can't see anything. And you can send an email to united@diabetesaustralia.com.au during the event, and I can pop the question in. Or you can raise your hand and ask your question verbally later on. I'll hand over to Beck to get started with how to keep positive.
Well, hello everyone, and because it's a small group, feel free to come off mute and ask questions and chat. I'm tuning in from a conference in Sydney, hence the lanyard, so hopefully it's not too noisy on the background. But positivity, why do we need to talk about it? First of all, we're all human beings, and so human beings means that we're not always positive creatures. And we know that in particular with diabetes distress or diabetes burnout is a real issue, and at least 30 to 50% of people living with diabetes at some point will suffer from diabetes distress or diabetes burnout. And I've said this time and time again, those of you who have joined me in webinars, positivity or being positive is not just fluff. There's decades of research, particularly from the guru of positivity, Martin Seligman, which actually demonstrates the benefits of using positivity in some way to help with managing our condition, our diabetes or other conditions we've got. So today is really looking at all of us together. How do you remain positive? What are your strategies? Maybe there's some tips that you can learn. The first one I'm actually going to start with, because I've got quite a few tips to look at when it comes to how to be positive, is I'm going to hand over to Stephen, because if you don't mind me, Stephen, putting you on the spot. Last time Stephen was on the webinar, he talked about, which was absolutely brilliant, one way of keeping positive, and it was about your beautiful, I think it was on a Thursday where you meet with some friends about this morning. Yeah, the support. Can you explain, Steve? One of the most important parts of remaining positive is having a good support network, and it may not always be in your house. It may be people outside. So, Steve, could you explain a bit about what you do? Because I think it's a really good example.
Thank you. I do have quite a large support group, and it's not just Tuesday morning, but Tuesday morning is with a group of guys that's a state-run charity, and it's called Mongrels Men. And what it is that every Tuesday morning throughout the state of New South Wales, Mongrels Men meet at 6 o'clock. And what they do is, it's men's mental health, and what they do is obviously go for a walk for about an hour. Then we go to a coffee shop and we talk and we support. And I've been doing that since October of last year. But that's not the only group that I have. I paddle dragon boats Mondays and Fridays, and that's it's probably 80% women, but it's a very positive group of people that are in a dragon boat and they're doing one thing, and that's supporting each other. On Wednesday mornings, I ride my bike, my push bike, and what I do is I say hello to everybody. So as I'm riding along, I make it a point to be the first to say hello. So someone's riding towards me, someone's walking towards me, I say hello. And when I get to the beach, a 45-minute ride, I say hello to as many people as I can say hello to. So that's my strategy. I try to surround myself with very positive people, and I have a lot of people that, because I have that attitude, that say hello back, and now know me, and it just becomes natural that we have a conversation. So that's my strategy.
No, I love it. And it's just, it shifts your attention as well. Like when you look at positivity, our brains tend to have a negative bias. So when you're actually getting into the habit of surrounding yourself with positive people, I think you said last time, Stephen, there's a guy who used to run marathons and he was also a lawyer or something. Like, yeah. The stories you tell, it then makes you more inclined to think of the positive things. So you're retraining your brain to look for the good. And I love that example when you're riding your bike, you're forcing yourself to say hello, which since COVID, I think, we've lost that connectivity. So brilliant. And we know from the research that people who surround themselves with other like-minded positive people, you become more like it. And then that taps into or affects the behaviours, because our attitudes, I've said before, how we think impacts what we do. So since October last year, it's really interesting to see what the impact has been with that social connectivity with health behaviours. It's very interesting. So it's a really important.
It is quite interesting because what we've formed now is there's 4 men in the group. There was a larger group, but it's dwindled away for one reason or another. But the 4 of us have agreed that if the charity was to fold, and the charity buys us a coffee every Tuesday morning, if the charity was to fold, we would still meet on a Tuesday, because we've formed that bond.
Lovely.
And the other thing is that it doesn't cross over. So the people that I associate with on a Monday and a Friday and a Thursday night, because I play the ukulele on a Thursday night.
As you do.
With another group of people, if those people don't then become part of other things that I do.
Yep.
It's Monday morning, Friday morning, that's the group for that. Tuesday morning, that's the group for that. My day, Wednesday, of riding my bike, that's what I do on a Wednesday. And Thursday night is the group for that. So I like with the people on Thursday night, if someone says, oh, let's meet up for coffee on Wednesday or Saturday morning, I kind of refrain from doing that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit selfish, but
it's got to work for you. It's got to work for you. So it's not selfish. It's
in that structure as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love it. Does anyone else have a social outlet as well? Is that something that someone else does to help them keep positive, or is that something that you're looking to do? And that's one of the reasons why we have these webinars. And there was a delightful chap, I've forgotten his name, who was on the webinar last time, and he was calling from an island, and he said it was the first time that he had connected with anyone with diabetes, which was just beautiful. And
Interesting.
yeah, it was really nice to hear his story, and this may be the first step for us to connect together. And then it might be, it's that domino effect, isn't it? Okay, I've got some like-minded people here who actually are going through similar things. Okay, I get this. And that can have that domino effect to look for other like-minded people like Stephen has done. Does anyone else have social groups? Or maybe you've got family members who are the ones that are your sounding board. What do other people do?
I like going to swimming lessons with my son on a Wednesday. You end up seeing the same parents there every week, and after a couple of years of not going and seeing live music and drinking as much and things like that, social life has kind of gone out the window. So it's good to have, even if it's only for that half an hour or an hour, playing in the pool after the lesson, like he's talking to other adults. It's nice, yeah.
It is, isn't it? And you do start, like, I've moved back to Wollongong, but when I was in Perth, my hubby was working over there, so I went with our little daughter, and I didn't know anyone there. So for me, definitely I enrolled, and I'm a social person, and my job's online, so I made sure that I connected myself to people, because I know the statistics of what can happen, even if you're a positive person, what can happen to you mentally. So I made sure I put Sophia into ballet, and I put her into all different sports classes and little play groups, so I could connect, like you said, Erin, to like-minded people, because the party life is gone and the corporate life is gone, and that made a huge difference. And you look forward to that. And then when you're having a down day because your child's teething and you haven't had sleep, then you can connect to, it's just like with diabetes, if you're having a not so good week, I'm doing everything the same, my sugars are out of control, then you've got someone who you can speak to say, you know what, that happened to me as well. It starts to normalize your experiences, and particularly with diabetes, you don't have a minute to yourself. Deb, do you mind explaining one thing that Deb's has explained before, because a really important part of keeping positive is that social aspect, but also that support. When Deb, when you're saying about when your alarm goes off, and some days you just don't want to listen to the alarm, and that was, for me, I never thought of it that way. I'll get Deb to explain, but it actually helps to lessen the pain of having to think about diabetes 24/7 when you think of a way of your support person being part of that. So did you want to explain, Deb? Because I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think alarm fatigue, and I've noticed it more in the last probably 6 months. And the timing might be just coincidental, but so sometimes I don't swear, but I tell my alarm off, and I tell it, just be quiet, because I'm just not going to talk to you. I'm not going to take any notice of you. And that's counterproductive, but my husband is very supportive, and because I use the Libre 2 Plus, he has the partner app, and on the very odd occasion, I'll just say to him, look, I just don't want to deal with it today. I don't want to deal with the alarms today. Can you just keep a check on my levels? I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to listen to my alarms. And he'll only, and I say to him, only do it if it's significantly, trending low or significantly trending high. And he's great. He'll just give me the heads up, but it means that I can have a mini break, if you like, from just being constantly listening to those alarms and addressing, okay, what do I have to do now? The alarm is going off because I'm going low. Do I have to eat? Do I have to whatever? So yeah, having that support, and also for me, it's a bit, I guess it's a bit like Stephen. Stephen has interests outside of diabetes, and it's great. These chats and the Diabetes United, absolutely brilliant for information and connecting with like-minded people, like you say. But I think it's important too to have interests outside of diabetes. And so for me, I've just started up a group of friends have said to me, oh, you do a lot of food preservation, and they're just interested in learning what I do and seeing what I do. And so we get together and, cook up a batch of tomatoes or whatever,
Fantastic.
and do those sort of things. And mostly it's chatting and having
That's
a
the
cup
most
of
important part.
yeah, absolutely. But it's an interest outside of the diabetes, I guess.
It's a really important point again. And it's like interest outside of your children. You can't just always have your children. What about your own hobbies? I think that's a really good point, because again, it's helping you to see outside of that, the numbers. It's not always about numbers.
Yeah.
And we know that it impacts other people, how we feel, it impacts other people as well. So I think family members realise they get a better deal if they encourage us to go and do other things as well. Does anyone else have other hobbies that they are engaging in to help them get through? Anyone else have hobbies?
Well, I don't know whether you would call it a hobby, but I'm currently renovating my house.
That's a project.
So if I could pick
What
the
are you
computer
renovating?
up- Sorry.
What are you renovating?
So I've started with the bathroom.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Of course, I've got a company to do that for me, a specialist, but it requires site management from my part. So it's quite interesting, and I'm keeping quite calm. So once I've done that, then I'll move on to our dining area, and then move on to the kitchen, and move through the house to out the front, that carport. So it's going to take probably a good couple of years, as frustrating it is to my dear wife, who wants everything right now.
So far, so good.
I don't know whether you call it a hobby, but it's time consuming. Yeah.
I think it's good. I mean, and it's a form of distraction too. I mean, this is what hobbies and interests can do as well. If we're having a not so good day with diabetes, or if we're finding we're struggling with our eating, it's a good way to refocus. And there's one thing I've said in other webinars, but it is research based. And I did mention Dr. Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology. And that's the first thing I started to read about, because when I've trained health professionals in basic psychology, one of the things that people would say is, oh, this is just fluff. It's not fluff. There is a lot of evidence on the benefits of positive psychology. We have a brain, and the brain is just not about thinking, it's feeling as well. So Dr. Martin Seligman did a lot of research, and one thing to look into is gratitude. So when we are showing, which is hard, because if things aren't going well, as I said, the brain, we sort of is geared to more thinking negative. It's easy just to focus on the negative rather than what have I got to be grateful for. So gratitude, a little exercise I'll teach you, if you haven't heard it before, actually helps us to reframe how we think. And once we do it and become more habitual with it, it just becomes automatically positive. That's how we think. So gratitude and expressing gratitude shifts our attention to go from a negative bias to more of a problem focus to more of a positive focus. Okay, we're savoring the positive moments as something as simple as my granddaughter said, I love you. Or my granddaughter, I can see behind Stevie, he's got some beautiful drawings there. My grandchild drew me a picture. I love when my daughter draws me pictures. I've actually got one here because she knew I was going to a conference, and it's a little pocket. She's into Staples at the moment. And she's got this shiny, sparkly cardboard. She put a Christmas tree on it with a smiley face because she loves Christmas. And she said, Mama, that's to put all your important documents in there. Aww. So I've got that with me. And that makes me feel just so loved and special.
Sweet.
And for me, when she left, normally if I have to go, she gets upset. But this time she said, this is going to help you. Then she said, by the way, buy me a present. So I have to do that.
But that's lovely because it's like you've got something that your child made, their creativity, and then also, they made it because they
absolutely
thinking about you and they care about you.
And she knows that work's important. She's 4 and she's understanding now that Mama works, and Mama, that's, when you work, you earn money, and that helps us put food on the table. And if you want to go to the cinema on the weekend, etc. But yeah, gratitude, it builds resilience. And the good thing about that is it helps you bounce back from stress. So Stephen's example, if you're having a not so good day, you think, well, I've got Tuesday to look forward to. Or like Deb said, if you're not having a good day, you've got hubby to call on. So it helps you bounce back from that. You know, you're not alone. But it also promotes meaning to your life. Okay. So it really promotes meaning. So the 3 blessings exercise is a gratitude exercise. And what you to do is just think of and record 3 positive things that have happened to you into the day, in the day. That might be the end of the day where you sit with a journal. So 3 positive things that have happened to you in the day. The most important part of that is your contribution towards it, because it shows you have had a part in this positive experience. So it could be something as simple as my daughter made this for me and I took the time to appreciate it. I saw a beautiful sunset. I took the time to notice it. The barista made me a cup of coffee and put a little smiley face on the lid because he knew I was having a bit of a bad day, etc., etc. And you're to write 3 things every day, and you're to do this for at least 2 weeks. And the research says that this can have a positive impact for over 6 months. For over 6 months, it can increase happiness and reduces depressive symptoms. And I've used this example before. My mother, my stepdad, is in a nursing home with dementia. It's quite sad, you know. As soon as he retired, ends up in a nursing home, and so, you know, their life of travelling was cut short, and the nursing home has taken all their superannuation. So, you know, pretty grim. And so my mum is a very positive person, very positive, always glass half full. When she got thyroid cancer, she said, I've got no time for this. I'm just going to get through it. And she did. But I know there are days, because we're living with her at the moment, there are days where I can read her like a book, and it's not such a good day. And I told her about the 3 blessings exercise. And so she got a little diary, and every morning with her cup of tea, she prefers the morning, or you can do it at night, she writes things about what happened yesterday. And she's on to her 3rd or 4th book now. And she's writing the smallest things. Like, I don't know if I said this the other time, but it was funny. Like, the dermatologist she goes to said, has any, because she wears glasses, always has, since she was 5. Has anyone told you you've got the most beautiful blue eyes? And she said it just made her feel so special. And then her husband, my stepdad, because he's got dementia, but he had a really on-point moment and held her hand and said, I love you, Elizabeth. And she wrote that down. And I had this moment with Jack, the real Jack. Little things like that. And she said it's what she looks forward to in the morning, her cup of tea and writing all this down. And she shares them with me. And the littlest things she finds is absolutely brilliant. And I've noticed the difference. And there was one week where he was quite sick and she forgot to do her journal. And I said, what will help you feel a bit happier? And she goes, I need to do that diary thing again. So try the 3 blessings exercise if you find that, and it might be one of these tools that you have in your toolbox, that if you're having a not so good time, to bring it out and try it for 2 weeks. I used to do it for people with eating disorders, because quite often there is a very perfectionistic type nature where nothing's good enough. So it encourages them to focus on the littlest things rather than comparing yourself to the Joneses. What is in your backyard? What do you have to be grateful for? And Seligman has done a lot of good research. It's worth reading. He's got a lot of books. So Martin
I
Seligman.
don't think I've heard of him before.
Yeah, no, it's one
How do you spell his last name?
Seligman. So 2005 was that piece of research. There's heaps of research. And when I was introduced to health coaching, so health behaviour change, is what kept me in dietetics, because I knew that I wasn't helping patients as much as I should. It's not just about telling people what to eat. What if they know all that? And a lot of people know more about carbs and calories than a new grad dietitian. What's going to help them? So I started getting into looking at basic psychology to support the behaviour change that we're looking at, which is monitoring your sugars, the stuff. But positive psychology was one area, because I had an interest in diabetes burnout. How can you deal with that? I mean, obviously, one part to mention today is if you find it becomes a bit more clinical, then we do have services for you to see. Psychologists, we know that you can get a mental health CAM team arrangement plan, and you can find a psychologist who bulk bills, or some psychologists might have a small gap. And then if you find that that's not enough, you can go back to your GP and get more sessions. So if you find that these little tips and tricks we're talking about keep those up. Sometimes people need a bit of a top up. Okay. And then you might need to speak to someone professional, because it's sometimes we need strategies in knowing how to think and feel better. So it's not about you being a depressed person or an anxious person. It is, you have feelings that and thoughts that create anxiety and depression. So separate yourself from it. You are who you are, but there might be some mindset strategies that someone who's a professional can help you with. So keep that in mind. But gratitude is, I ask my daughter every night at dinner time, what's one thing that you liked about today? Tell me one positive thing. So I'm training her even as a 4-year-old to think about those things as well.
Yeah, that's great. Just slightly different language.
Yeah, because they come home
appropriate for the age,
tired.
yeah.
I mean, sometimes she comes home and goes, Mum, I don't want to do it tonight. I go, okay. Now, the other thing is, and Stephen's mentioned this about the 45-minute bike ride, but we know endorphins, not dolphins, endorphins, the feel-good hormones. We know that exercise, and it doesn't have to be, you know, everyone's got different mobility levels, but it could be something as simple as going for a quick walk just to clear the cobwebs. Okay, but we know that activity can really help the mindset, not only the blood sugars. Yes, we know it helps blood sugars, but remember, today I'm talking about you as a person. It can really shift the way we feel as well. A really important thing. And that's one of the first things we don't want to do if we're not feeling great. When I was sick, I was like, that's the last thing I want to do. But as soon as I got better, I thought that's the first thing I need to do. I need to get in and be more active, because I know if I'm more active, I drink more water and I feel better. And it has that flow on effect.
The thing
Yeah.
that I find hard, like, oh, sorry, Debbie.
Claire.
Yeah,
I when I was really sick with the influenza A, I couldn't do any exercise. But what I found helped was to sit out in the yard in the sun, just to have that broader perspective visually,
Yes.
and to have the sunshine.
Vitamin D
It does make a big difference.
I love that.
Can
I
I
love that. Oh, was that you, Stephen?
Yes, yes. Over the last 2 days, I've had with 2 different people this conversation about exercise, and the conversation yesterday was that I hadn't seen this fellow for about 3 months, and Stephen's about his name's Stephen too. Stephen's about 60, and he said to me that he needed a break from intense exercise, which is what paddling dragon boats is. He needed a break. Now, the conversation I had this morning was along the same lines. This fellow has been an intense exerciser. I mean, seriously, marathons and weights are intense. And at 72, he's saying to himself, I can't handle the fact that I can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm having serious problems. So this conversation happened this morning. What do I do? How do I get around this?
What does he do? Did you offer any advice, or what's his strategy? Because that's very black and white, isn't it? Either run a marathon or I don't do anything at all. I mean, it's a new chapter for him, it sounds. He's not going to be able to do as much exercise as before, but is that okay? And what is he going to do about that? I'm curious.
The fellow yesterday, Stephen, his strategy was, I will take 3 months off from strenuous exercise and just walk peacefully, mindfully walk.
Right.
So what I said to Peter this morning was, why don't you try this? Meditation, sit in the backyard with some music, mindfully walk slowly and casually. You don't have to, you do realise that you don't have to do what you...
Log yourself to death. Yeah.
Yes. And for his whole life, Peter has belted himself through each day. And he doesn't know how to get his brain around not having to do that.
It's a really good point.
So,
yeah. So
we did 12,000 steps this morning, 12,500 steps.
wow.
I'm 71 and he's 72. And the other fellow that was three of us, he's a little bit younger. So, do we need to do that? That's what the discussion was about.
Yeah. I think it's going to be no pun intended. Well, we want small steps for him. It's like when you retire and then it's like, okay, what can I do? And that can be quite depressing for people. Or I've got an uncle was very go, and he's got an autoimmune condition, which meant that he couldn't drive for a few months. He couldn't do all the things he wanted to do, and he didn't know shades of grey. He was either full on or nothing at all, and he slipped into a bit of depression and had to go and see a psychologist and on a bit of medication. And now he's working out, okay, is a walk around the block, like Deb said, sitting in the back garden with a cup of tea in the sunshine, maybe doing a little bit of hydrotherapy, walking in the pool, is that enough? And for him, he's had to retrain himself to think, my situation's different now, my age and my condition's different, and this is good enough. But that takes a big shift in your mind as well, definitely. And I think it's great that you have that discussion with him, Stephen, that you're giving him support and ideas, because we know that even meditation, that's one of the key principles to remaining positive, is that mindfulness, that relaxation, meditation, massive. We don't have to flog ourselves to death to think that we've exercised. Yeah. So it's trying to.
Yeah, and Beck, I know for myself, because the diabetes is very number oriented. I can easily get in overload with the number kind of thing, and so when I'm doing exercise, when I'm doing any activity, I try not to put a time frame on it. Yeah. Put a any sort of expectation other than being intentional about doing something every day.
Perfect.
Exactly. Because it just gets to, my head just wants to explode.
Well, you've got enough numbers in your life, and it becomes about rules. Like I know with the gym, like the first day back from being sick, I went, I'm just going to go to the gym. I don't feel like it, and I'm just going to go. And then once I got started, I went, okay, I think I could do more than 15 minutes. Okay, and I managed half an hour. Now, my brain years ago would have been, if it's not an hour, it's not good enough. And then I wouldn't go. Yeah. How's that helping you? Not at all. So yeah. I think that that different way of thinking, and like I said, that you go to a health professional, about your diabetes, and you're already getting the numbers and at you. So it's really good to see that when you're out of that, to think, well, I'm a person, and this is about living and about the fulfillment and enjoyment of exercise, rather than just I've got to achieve that magic number. And that contributes to diabetes distress, when you are just told to perform and to meet these you're raising the bar so much.
And to see that, it's not just about what we have in our mindset as what exercise looks like. It's, activity. I'm a big gardener.
Love it.
And so that takes it takes a lot of physical effort to do that.
Absolutely.
But incidental activities, and I remember going to an exercise physiologist, and his mantra was, anything is better than nothing.
Love it.
So any activity, and I'm the sort of person that wants to challenge myself. So to do a 10-minute walk, if that's all I can do physically in the moment, then that's what I'll do. But if it's like what you said about the gym, if I've done a 10-minute walk, because that's in my head what I think I can do, and at the end of the 10 minutes I think, I can do another 10 minutes, and I keep going, so it's not about setting myself up for failure.
Definitely not.
I've been, because my bathroom is getting done, I took out 2 months membership at the gym so I could go for a shower.
Brilliant.
And this morning, I stopped and had a look around just to look at people, and and I thought, my God, I used to do all that because I haven't been to the gym for about 4 years, and the circuit classes and the spin classes were just insane. and I thought to myself, my God, how did I do that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's
Tiring watching them.
It was just a positive feeling to stand there and look at these people and watch them and just be around people, but not be involved. And I was just impressed.
You can write that down as
I was
gratitude.
I was in
Leslie,
hospital
hi.
recently for depression, and you know, so like with your mental health and everything, people are always talking about, you know, exercise being so important and so good. I've also got a chronic pain condition and hypermobility, so my capability isn't always the same to work out. They have a gym, and usually in past admissions I will, you know, go to the gym and work out every day, and this admission I was feeling like I just can't really do that. But they had a gentle exercise class that I went along to, and it was just chair exercises in your chair, and your heart rate did get up. It was quite good. So that was like really encouraging to, you know, just like modify your fitness to your capabilities. And then I missed a gentle exercise, and it was in the evening, and I thought, oh, you know, it's a shame, sort of berating myself that I missed it. But I just looked up on the internet like bed exercise and I did a 10-minute session just from my bed.
Love it.
And it got my heart rate up as well. And so that was really good. And then one thing that I do when I'm at work is I go for a walk on all of my breaks, morning tea, lunch, and afternoon tea. And so on my morning and afternoon tea breaks, I'll just do a 10-minute walk around the block, and then I've still got 5 minutes to make a cup of tea or do something that I want to do. And then I'll do like a bigger walk at lunchtime, like a 40-minute walk. But it's, you know, like what you were saying about having endorphins, and it's also like a mental reset with the, you know, work can like bog you down mentally, and you can have brain fog and stuff, and it's just a really nice little reset and refresh and back in nature and whatnot. So yeah, I've when I'm working I do that, but I struggle to have stuff when I'm not working, like on the weekends, and so I'm hoping to incorporate more just like little exercises and things.
I love what you've just shared, Natalie, because, you know, because you've got not just diabetes, you've the pain, and that all impacts on depression. And what I love is like Deb said, something's better than nothing. So you are choosing what you can do at that point in time. And so if you're having a not so good day, if you're having a glass half empty day, because that's going to happen to everyone, but yours is even more like with chronic pain, you might be having a pain day. Is it enough just to get out of bed and have a little stretch, have a day off from that, do something different? Or if it's raining, maybe I'll do the bed exercises. Or I love that way of thinking. And that's the way you reframe thing is absolutely brilliant, because it is hard to see like that. We compare ourselves to the Joneses. The fact that you're thinking not what you can't do, you're focusing on what you can do, and you're tracking wins. And there's a diary, which I'll send again because not everyone's seen it. I know probably Deb and Stephen have seen it, but it's called a habit change diary. And often, you know, practitioners might say, record your food intake or record your exercise. And what do we focus on? We often focus on, if we're going to admit a food diary, the bad days, the days we haven't done well. And that just reinforces failure. We don't need that. We don't need to tell ourselves what we're not doing so well. And as I said, our brain is geared to think like that. So a habit change diary is you write your little behavior, and it might be movement. So every day I'm going to aim to move. And for some, it might be, like you said, walking a bit on my lunch break, but on the weekend, maybe I'm going to give myself a break and just do something different. And I like the fact of doing the chair exercises, because you're using them, like, rather than just doing huffy puffy walking every day. There's 4 types of movement: flexibility, balance, strength, and cardio. So on those days where you might not be able to do the huffy puffy because you're just not feeling great, you might focus on flexibility, and you might be doing some balancing exercises to reduce your risk of falls or whatever. You know, as we get older, we reduce muscle mass. So what I love about that is when you're looking at the habit change diary, you've got movement, or it might be just think positive, or it might be eat my breakfast, or whatever the behavior is. You tick the day you achieve it. The day you don't achieve it, you leave it blank. You do not put a cross. And at the end of the week, you tally up how many ticks you got. And then it might be, okay, well, I aimed for 5 days a week of being active. Well, that was a bit unrealistic because I wasn't having a great week. Okay, so I got 4 ticks. Brilliant. Can I aim for more next week, or can I try to keep to 4 days? So the habit change diary, if you do that, it gets you into the habit of focusing on the wins, whatever the behavior is. And rather than focusing on the number, the scales, like the weight or the blood sugars, you are focusing on the behaviors. And I've said this before, the equation to get that outcome of better HbA1c or weight is a positive mindset plus doing that behavior gets you the outcome. So if you're thinking in that way, what can I do? Natalie's going, I can do this today, as opposed I can't. So then you do the behavior and you keep doing that, you're going to get closer to the outcome. So I think
that's much better, like, as far as you being honest.
Yeah.
But as opposed to something like a food diary, or putting X's when you don't do something, or writing chocolate and then you being honest but feeling bad about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Being honest is just kind of framed a bit differently.
And it's not being condescending.
Or how many days you ate veggies.
Exactly. And
it's the same kind of, yeah.
You know, it's a mind game, right? It's how to outsmart yourself. And it's not condescending. Everyone, I for many years, I used to see a lot of veterans coming in to see me, and some of our goals were get out of bed, take my medication, and that's all. And is that good enough? And I remember one beautiful patient, and he said, is that enough, Rebecca? I said, it is. And that's what you've got to say to yourself. So every day, I am enough. I need to take my meds. And maybe I'm not going to check my blood sugars 4 times a day, maybe just once. Or get out of bed, open the curtains, get that vitamin D, because that's going to improve mood as well. So every day is going to be different. And if we can think like that, what I can do today, based on this situation, we're more likely to persist. It encourages resilience. Yeah, see, all your examples are brilliant. You know, it's just that big toolbox and picking out what you can do at some point in time. I will send that habit change diary because it's great, especially if you're having a bit of a rough week.
Thank you.
And I have a lot of patients I've seen in the past. Okay, what would help you get back on track? And they'll say, oh, that habit thing. I need to just focus my brain. So I've got messy head. So tidy head, it helps that tidy head to focus on one behavior. So I'm going to write that down. I've got a pen, I'll remember it. Habit change diary. I'll look it up. And it's a really good one to have for the toolbox, just to adjust in case.
Can you go back to where you were talking about attitude, and you started to talk about it shifts your gratitude.
Gratitude, yep.
And you said it shifts your attitude to, and I didn't hear you finish the sentence.
Oh, okay. It shifts your attitude to more of a positive. It shifts your attention to go from a negative bias, which we naturally focus on problems, to more of a positive bias. And then you savor the positivity, the positive. You savor anything positive. So it reframes the way you think from a negative to appreciating the positive, as small as it may be. And that's what the beauty about this is. You might start with something big, right? Like, oh my God, I did this walk. But then it might be something small, like I said, a beautiful sunset, or just tiny, 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 tiny things. And that's where it becomes beautiful, because when I've looked through my mum's diary, the things that she's come up with, wow. You know, or someone, she put someone, you know, I get really annoyed. I don't like people without manners. You know, when you're driving and you let someone in and then they don't say thank you. And you go, I just missed the traffic light for you. So mum put in hers, someone let me in the traffic. And, you know, like that's when you're having one of those bad days, everything comes on top of you. And she said, I just needed that. Someone let me in, and I took the time to appreciate that. Just little things.
So are you saying that you're showing gratitude to another person?
No, for yourself, but you can do it for someone else. With gratitude, what you're doing is you're looking at your life and what you have to be grateful for, and you're collecting things that you've seen in your life to be grateful for. So, you know, you went for that bike ride, right? And you enjoyed it. You had a coffee with your mate and you had a great chat. Your granddaughter drew you a beautiful picture. So you're recording gratitude that's happened in your life, but you could share it, especially with your mate who's going from being, you know, full on exercise nut to trying to do or work out a different way of exercising, expressing gratitude for the little things he can do. So you can teach other people this. I've taught many people this, and it's fascinating. You know, they come in with a referral for diabetes, a diabetes diet, and they come out with a plan on gratitude because they already know the nutrition. If you have the gratitude, then you're more likely to follow the diet. You know, everyone's different. Everyone's different, but that habit change diary, it could be related to nutrition. It could be I'm eating too many carbs at night. Okay, I'm going to aim to have one serve of dinner, not leftovers, or I'm going to eat half the amount of rice on my plate, and you tick the day you achieve it. And then you can look at the relationship between that behavior and your blood sugars, or that behavior and your mood. And there's a direct correlation. And that is motivating because the behaviors aren't always attractive. You may not always want to go and do the exercise. You may not always want to do the chair exercises. You may not always want to cut down the carbs. But if you can see there's a win, this is what happened, then that's you're selling it. We're selling health to ourselves. And we've got to try to sell it to us because it's not hard every day. Sometimes it's easy just to go, well, I'm going to have a day off. And sometimes we need that.
Somebody said to me, a friend of mine said to me just recently, she has trouble sleeping. And so she'll get up if she wakes up at 1 o'clock in the morning, she'll get up, and she has a bit of a pattern of what she does. And part of the pattern is that at the end of whatever she's done for 5 or 10 minutes, she'll say, okay, now, Fran, you've done all of those things. Now it's time to go to sleep. And she'll say it out loud so she hears it.
I like that.
She hears it herself. And there's value in that. You know, actually hearing ourselves speak out our goals, our you know, our wins, because for me, my understanding is, for me, I hear the loop of negativity, and that's that can be very strong and powerful. But if I speak out positivity and I hear that, it is much more powerful.
Definitely. I'm going to do that. I wake up a lot in the middle of the night and then start to catastrophize and think of things. Yeah. So I think saying it out to you, I think that's a brilliant strategy. And, you know, you look at sports psychology, you know, look at athletes, they're not saying to themselves before they start a marathon, you're going to lose. That you can see them talking to themselves, talking to get them, you know, massive pressure. I love that. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, me too.
Plus magnesium.
Yeah.
The magnesium's not working at the moment, so I think I need to do some talking out loud. Seriously. Oh, some great. I'm just look. I was just reflecting this morning about positivity and my experience, and I think we've gone through everything. Track wins. So I'm going to send you the habit change diary. Compassion, not fluff. Being self-critical gets us nowhere. You can be reflective. There's a difference between being self-critical and reflect. You can reflect, okay, what didn't go well that day? What could I do to change that, rather than, oh my God, I failed again. But self-compassion, you know, not just relying on other people to have compassion, but self-compassion makes a huge difference to then what we do and then how we feel. So cutting ourselves a bit of slack. We can't perform every day. It's okay to have a bad hair day, so to speak. And that's what I said before about that goal might be just getting out of bed, taking my medication, and maybe today my movement is just going and hanging the washing out. You know, this sort of action, I've seen people hang out 2 loads of washing and better blood sugars because there is still movement, okay? And you're getting your washing done.
And you feel productive.
Exactly.
And even setting the goals is like, that's step 1.
Yep.
And if you don't do any of it, it's like, well, step 1 was done. It's the next day.
Something's better than
Try
nothing.
and get one of them done.
One thing at a time, one step at a time, add up over time. There might be days where you do 5 goals. Good on you. But then there might be other days where it's hard to even think of one, and that's enough, and that's okay. And that's okay. When we find that we can't get back on track, that's when we need to reach out, whether it's from us, the team, on the forum, we're here, or whether it's your support buddy or the guys you have coffee with, or maybe it's one of your health professionals you've got a good relationship with, or your neighbour. But that's when we reach out when it gets hard. Can't do it alone. Yep. So I think I'm just looking. But I said about gratitude builds resilience, so it does help you bounce back from stress. That's why I'm loving all your examples. You're more likely to bounce back quicker. So there's going to be a lapse as opposed to a relapse. A relapse is when you just completely ignore everything, put the duvet over your head and go, see you later. But a lapse is when you have a bit of a hiccup, you have a not so good day. How we interpret that is the key. Do you interpret a not so good day as failure, or do you go, you know what, I'm human, it's going to happen, get back on track? Reset, reframe. Yep. Yeah. Are there any other examples, or I can't believe it's almost an hour. I always think when I start, an hour, and then it just goes, boop.
The other situation that I failed to mention was these webinars. It was midway through last year where I did some research to try and find groups here in Newcastle, where I live, that were of like-minded in terms of diabetes. There is none, unfortunately. So this is how I came to be part of this webinar, and I've made friends with Deb and Rebecca and Ange and other people that are now part of my positive team. So I need to thank you guys for that. That 3 times a month I'm meeting up, or 4 times or 3 times I'm meeting up with a positive group of people. So thank you.
Likewise, Stephen.
No, we thank you. I mean, the webinars, you are what make it. And when people tune in, we know that we're onto something. And so that's why we love your feedback. And we know that, I've said this time and time again, diabetes is not just about nutrition and exercise. And I do have webinars where we do talk about carbs, or we do talk about exercise, or do talk about sleep, or do talk about weight, but that won't work unless you've got the mindset. And so, and this support, you're right, Stephen. I mean, there's not a lot of groups out there, and a lot of things are online now. So yeah, this is a great way of connecting, definitely. And then we get to see you guys. It's not just behind a laptop creating recipes and blogs. This is the face-to-face human side that makes our organisation, that makes it so important. And
before November, we really just it was very one-sided. It was external, for the most part, I think external health professionals, maybe the occasional internal health professional. It was very much like a presentation. I don't know if we even had people off mute back in the day. We had the experts events 6 times a year, and that was maybe all we did for a couple of years there. Yeah, so that's great.
Well, that's why
I get much more out of this kind of thing and when I say get much more, you know, the professionals who are giving presentations are, you know, very informative, but having the interaction and having the interaction with other like-minded people or people you know are going through similar things or have been through similar things and can then, you know, give you tips on how to navigate that sort of thing is invaluable, I think. And just you were talking, you mentioned, Beck, the recipes. I made your cookies this morning, but I didn't have a mashed banana, so I used applesauce.
Oh, yum. And how did they go?
Really brilliant.
Oh, good.
Yeah, great.
And my
So I can
4-year-old loves
recommend
them.
I can recommend the cookies that Beck puts the recipe in the circle, the
Yes.
latest circle.
I'll email it to you guys as well. It's the food diary and the cookies. My 4-year-old loves them, and even my mum, my 70-year-old mother, who loves a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Yep.
She went, oh, these don't taste too healthy. Like these are really nice.
Sweetness
She likes
from
the chocolate
banana or
digestive.
apple.
I had to beat the chocolate digestive, and she said they were really good. And she said, I think these will keep me regular too. Thanks, Mum. Too much information.
Well, you know what I've got for lunch?
What have you got for lunch today?
Yeah, I guess. Come on.
Chicken soup.
Chicken soup. Yep.
Chicken soup.
Love it.
I got minestrone soup.
Oh, yum. Well, I'm at a conference, which is a fine food festival. So there is food everywhere. I've had dumplings, I've had ribs, I've had everything, tastes of everything. So
Just planning for future meal plans and recipes.
well, actually, the one that's coming out, I've just sent it to the graphic designer, is Fakeaway, so healthy takeaways.
Mm.
And Stephen, there is one called Secret Spice Chicken and Coleslaw, dedicated to you, KFC. Now, at the start of the meal plan, it says this is not what our real favorite takeaways taste like, but it is a version of it. So there is a secret spice chicken one. But thank you, everyone. Love it all. And any feedback, questions, problems, queries, inquiries, phobias, neuroses, God forbid, please contact us. I'm going to put my email because some of you may not have it. Let me in the chat. Do you all get the chat, or do you do Q&A?
You can add it to both, but I'll send an email as well later on, BCCing everyone, and I'll
Natalie, I've
include
never
your
met you
email.
before, darling. So hang on. So those of you who I haven't met before, that's my email. So if you find that there are things that you still want to ask or you want to ask offline, my email's there for a reason. And then you also will get the habit change diary and the almond and oat cookies. I think they're the ones. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll send them. Yep.
And I'll put the survey in the email that I send later on today, and I'll also put the registration link for the catch up on the 19th, which is about finding it hard to talk to other people about living with diabetes, and I'll put in the registration link for the next health hour as well, which will be in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.